What if you knew enough about the law to resolve your own legal problems? Is a debt collector after you? Has someone stolen your identity? Learn what you can do from the people's lawyer. Next on Living Smart. Hello, I'm Patricia Gras. Welcome to Living Smart, the show designed to help you get the most out of life. What happens when someone steals your identity? Is a credit collector after you? Today, Richard Alderman, the people's lawyer, will walk us through common legal quagmires.
We're going to be doing a lot of just general discussion about consumer protection today. Okay, any questions?
Professor Richard Alderman thrives on education. He wants anyone who'll listen to learn about the law. He's been teaching consumer, contract, and commercial law for over 20 years, but he's best known as the people's lawyer.
As a general rule, the law allows a person to leave his or her property.
Each week he tapes syndicated spots on consumer law. And once a week he walks into a studio to reach millions who want answers to their legal problems.
What I realized was that society was just getting more complicated. Knowing the law mattered, and more importantly, you couldn't rely on lawyers to help you. You needed to know how to resolve problems yourself. You needed to know how to avoid problems. I am thinking about getting a divorce. If I inherit property, is it community property? I just think that the school is in great shape and doing really well.
Today he's the assistant dean at the University of Houston's Law Center and the director of the Center for Consumer Law. Through television, radio, newspapers, books, and now the internet, he's happy to help anyone who'll ask.
I get literally hundreds of emails, and I answer every one of them and try to tell people what it is they need to know. I'd say at least 80 to 90% of them, they don't need a lawyer, and a decent percentage are just wrong. And what I tell them is, you're not entitled to that. If your class is scheduled 10:30 to 12, you are out of there at 10 of 12. It is
Alderman even created a people's law school, a free Saturday class taught by volunteer attorneys, judges, and professors, so that people could know the basics.
We have 500 to 600 people come out here for a Saturday morning, and we teach 14 courses in different areas of law, and everybody gets to go to 3 classes. And we've probably run between 25 and 30,000 people through this program.
What about Colorado?
University of?
Besides being a professor, dean, media star, and the author of 14 books, Alderman relishes his most important role, that of a family man.
I mean, I like the University of Denver.
It's time for college, and this time his advice isn't legal.
I don't ever want to be asking myself, what if? I don't ever want to say, if I'd just done this, what would have happened? Or if I'd tried a little harder. And I don't know if I have any situation I say what if. I mean, I'm a pretty happy guy.
When did you start painting?
I've always painted. I mean, I started
As a
painting.
child?
Yeah, I always liked painting. And
Today, Alderman has little
I went to school
time
in
for
New
his
Orleans.
favorite hobby.
I mean, as you can see, I like bright colors.
He's just too busy helping other people.
From the University of Houston Law Center, I'm Professor Richard Alderman. Richard Alderman for the Texas Young Lawyers Association.
Richard Alderman, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's
we
my
want to get that
pleasure.
name right.
Yes, I had to watch, and I learned my name by watching that.
One of the most common problems we face as Americans is identity theft. We're getting better at it, but how does it happen, and how do we protect ourselves from it?
Well, identity theft, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about exactly what it is. True identity theft, somebody actually becomes you.
Right.
They go somewhere else, they get your credit information, they live as you. This happened to me, someone in California. They obtain credit in your name, they get a telephone in your name, they do everything in your name.
How do they do that? How do they get all that information?
It's not as complicated as you would think. Once someone gets your Social Security number, which is the most important thing, they can then apply for credit. They contact the credit bureau, they say, hi, I'm Richard Alderman, I've moved, and then they start living as you. They have your Social Security number, which is the single most important piece of information. They borrow money, and what they do is they will live as you for quite a while, in my case for about 6 or 7 months, and then they really start to abuse your credit. and they start borrowing much more money, and then they stop paying back. And that's true identity theft. A lot of people now use the term identity theft to include any time someone uses your credit. So if they steal your credit card number, if they steal your credit card, people will call that identity theft. But that's really
that's not necessarily, and we'll talk about that,
that's right.
Dad. But how do you protect you said Social Security number. How do you protect yourself from that? I mean, everybody knows
you give that out as little as possible. That's the most important thing. That's what all of the identity theft goes right around that. That's what the credit bureau is going to want to make sure it's you. So there are times you have to give that to somebody. Don't give it any other time. A lot of people, I've been to the grocery store, and I'm not eavesdropping or anything. I'll see the person's check in front of me, and I'll see they have their name and their Social Security number. Don't put that anywhere that you don't have to put it.
I remember that you should never put your Social Security number on your checks.
Put as little as possible.
In your check.
That's right.
I mean, you could do that. Okay, let's talk about once someone steals your identity, what do you need to do? What's the first thing you need to do?
Well, first, I think it's important to emphasize that this is actually happening less, and people panic when they hear
identity theft.
Some company just lost all this data. Right now, there's not any guarantee your identity is going to be stolen. What you should do, though, is to prevent it and to see what's going on, check your credit report at least once a year. There's a new law that lets you do this for free. There are 3 credit bureaus. You should go to each one individually and stagger it. Go 4 months to one, 4 months to the other, 4 months to the other. And if you remember, I said identity theft usually takes 5-6 months. You will catch it. You will look at your credit report and you'll see, wait a minute, I don't know who this is. I don't have a phone in Montana. What's going on?
Oh.
So that's one of the best ways. And be religious about it. Put it on your calendar.
That's for free, right? That's for free?
It's absolutely free.
Where do you get that information? On your website?
You can go to my website. It's www.peopleslawyer.net. There's a section. It says credit reporting, identity theft. You click. It will get you to all of the links that you need.
So make sure you check your credit report.
That's right.
Now,
wait, let me, if I may cut you off rudely,
no.
I'm sorry.
Please do.
This is important. There are companies out there that before the law was changed advertised free credit report. And a lot of people will just punch in on Google or something, free credit report. That gets you to a company that actually is not the free credit report. You will get it for free, but if you don't do something, you're going to start being charged. So the best thing to do, you can go to my website, which will get you to the true free report,
ones.
Or make sure you're going through the government website. This should not cost you, and there shouldn't be any risk.
Fantastic. Now, what if you talked about credit cards, what if someone steals just your credit card? How much protection is there for that?
When somebody gets your credit card or your credit card number, there's a federal law that protects you. The most you can lose is $50, no matter what they do. That's the most. But if you promptly report it before it's used, you won't lose anything. Again, though, it's very important that people, you have to do a little bit to protect yourself.
Sure.
Look at your bill. When your bill comes in, see if there are any mistakes. Some mistakes, for example, you will only have 2 months to dispute it. And if you don't promptly dispute it, you may lose some of the rights you have. So don't just go online and pay it without checking it. Don't wait to pay it. Go through it. Look at it. If there's anything you don't understand, make sure you dispute it. All of the credit card companies now have a relatively easy way to do this online.
Okay. Something you spoke about was check scams, and that seems to concern you as well. There's a lot of that going on. Tell me what happens.
In my opinion, this is the new and the worst consumer scam.
Okay.
When it comes to credit cards, identity theft, for example, it will never cost you any money, because the law ultimately will throw the loss back onto someone else. It may be a hassle, it may take you a little time, but you won't lose any money. If somebody uses your credit card, the most you're going to lose
$50.
is $50, and a lot of places will waive that. The law is very different when it comes to mistakes with your checking account. The law doesn't protect you. The law protects the bank if you don't act almost immediately.
Okay.
And right now, the scam that I'm seeing the most involves people, there's all various forms of it. Work at home, you've got this money, but they all involve someone will send you a check.
Okay.
It will look like a certified check or a cashier's check, and they'll say, here's this check to show you my good faith for $5,000. Keep $4,000 of it. Send me $1,000. Go ahead, deposit it, and So you deposit it, you think it cleared, the bank will credit it to your account in just a few days. You look, you have a $5,000 credit, you think, I'm going to send $1,000 off and I'll keep the $4,000, this is legitimate. That check will ultimately bounce. It may take a week, it may take 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you have to pay that money back. So be very, very careful anytime. My advice would be, don't ever give anyone cash back for a check.
There's no such thing as a free check, is what you're saying.
If it
There's
sounds
no
too
such
good
thing.
to be true, it is. And this is used in other contexts, too. Recently, a student at the University of Houston was selling a car. And somebody said, I've just moved here from out of state. I want to buy the car. I brought all my money with me with a cashier's check. And you want $10,000 for the car, but I just have a $13,000 cashier's check. Here. Give me back the $3,000. And people think, oh, it's a cashier's check. It's a certified check. Today, either of us can go home and we can print up one of these on our computer. It won't look any different than anything else. Just be careful. If you're renting an apartment, taking a deposit, if anybody ever says, wait, I only have a check for a little more, cash it and give me the difference, find another customer.
It's not going to work. Internet scams. I get some of those every week. Tell me what are the most common ones and what we can do about them.
I'll just give you the advice for all of them. Delete. Get rid of them. I mean, I'm telling you, you do not have a relative in Algeria who left you $10 million. And if the government of Nigeria wants to move money to the United States, they don't email us. All of these scams are nothing but scams. They sound great. Some of them make sense. Now some army guy just dug up $5 million in gold in Iraq. And what would you do if you found $5 million? You wouldn't send an email to a stranger.
I'd be out on the beach.
That's right. You wouldn't send an email to a stranger saying, help me. I don't know what to do about this.
Right.
Unfortunately, the people who get taken advantage of are usually
elderly,
the most honest,
right,
the most gullible, and that's usually senior citizens.
Right.
It's people who just don't expect everybody to try and take advantage of them, but that's what's going on.
But it sounds like, they're asking you for information. Tell me the information you should never give out through the internet.
Oh, nothing. I wouldn't give out anything over the internet.
But what if you want to buy a book or you want to buy something?
If you're buying something especially if it's from a place that you know, that's not a problem. If you're buying something and you're concerned, there's a little lock down on the bottom. I forgot what it's called, a security. You can do that. But all that you should have to give out is your credit card number. And again, remember, if you are scammed, and usually there's not scams this way,
right,
the most you're going to lose is $50. Scammers need simple things. Mm-hmm. So, for example, a few weeks ago, I got a ton of emails. There was a class action. A credit card company, I believe it was Visa or MasterCard, had settled a class action lawsuit involving fees that they were charging for people who used their credit cards
I got one
in
of
Europe.
those.
That's
yes.
Right. Everybody was so afraid.
Oh, I went ahead and
fill
sent it out. I filled it out.
It was $25
right.
at least.
No big deal, yeah.
Think about it. That was a lot of paper, and it was expensive to do. Scammers don't do that.
Right.
Scammers do what's simple. They send you an email. Right now, the most common scams will involve emails that look like something legitimate. And what they're doing is phishing, and it's spelled PH.
Right,
it's
right.
phishing. They are phishing for information. I happen to, I don't remember where I bank. I forgot where I bank. But by random luck, you will get one that looks like it's from your bank. And you think, wow, there's a problem with my account. I have to go on. And you'll click, and all the pictures will be right. Everything looks right. And then they'll say, just so we can verify that it's your account, give us this information. Mm-hmm, Those are all scams.
Right.
No
Be careful.
Bank, no credit union, no credit card company will ever ask you to give them information about yourself.
Right,
That's right.
right.
Either go to the 800 number or go directly to their website.
Okay.
That's right. It's unfortunate, but you just have to be careful and always think, wait, who's trying to scam me?
Exactly. Now, debt collectors. Texas is pretty good to consumers when it comes to debt collectors, but we all had experiences. So we're going to take your car, we're going to garnish your wages. Tell me what our rights are with regards to debt collection.
Every state has what are called exemption statutes. That's property that the state protects, even if you're sued by a debt collector, even if the debt collector wins. Some property is protected. Texas, as you mentioned, is very liberal toward debtors. So in Texas, your homestead is exempt. It doesn't matter what it's worth. Up to 10 acres of land, your creditors, other than the people who loaned you money for the house, can't come after you. We have no wage garnishment in Texas. Most states have wage garnishment. We don't. We have garnishment for certain taxes, student loans, and child support, and that's it. They can't take for a family up to $60,000 worth of personal property. Your IRA is protected. So there is not a lot that a creditor can do to force you to pay. What this means is not, and please don't call me saying Alderman said don't pay your bills. What it means is you can work out a payment plan.
Right.
This is not a way to get out of paying.
Right.
This is a way to work out a payment plan. And when the creditor calls and says, here's what I'm going to do, and you say, wait, you can't do that.
Right.
More importantly, though, there is a federal law and there's a state law. The federal law is actually better. But what these laws say, the bottom line is, if they make threats to do things they can't do, they violated the law, you can get up to $1,000 in damages. I can't tell you how many times during a week I get emails from people who, they threaten to garnish my wages. They threaten to take my house. They threaten to take my car. Somebody actually, I got 2 last week of threatening to throw someone in jail. Every one of those violate the law. You could go to small claims court and sue them. The better thing, contact them and say, look, let's not play games. You have already violated the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Here's how much I can afford. Let's work this out.
How do you report collection agencies? So is there a place you can report them?
You can report them to the Federal Trade Commission. Unfortunately, with debt collectors, you're probably going to have to do something yourself. And you will either have to have an attorney assist you. If all you want to do is sue for the $1,000 you're entitled to, small claims court.
Okay.
And
we'll talk about, yeah.
It's amazing how things change when they get this notice from small claims court.
They don't like it, do they? One other concern you had, and I have too, is hospitals and what they call creative billing. Tell me about that. What should we know as consumers when we've been through the hospital?
Unfortunately, anything dealing with medical, the combination of the medical process, of the number of people involved and the complexity of the bills.
The bureaucracy.
And the insurance.
Right.
Makes it so important that people be diligent about these bills. And I know nobody likes to do it. I hate doing this. But you have got to save everything. When it comes in, save it. When the insurance information comes in, save it. Read it, look at it, and reconcile them. And make sure they're the same. I can promise you, if you overpay or you pay twice, they will never send it back.
Absolutely.
My doctor, in February, I paid for something and the insurance paid. I got the check about 3 weeks ago. It took almost a year of me calling saying, wait, you were paid twice. The other thing that happens is insurance companies will have arrangements with a doctor or a hospital that says, when you perform this service, we will pay you so much money.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Right.
That's all they get. And if you look at what you get from the insurance company, it will often say, the charge was this much, we paid this much, there'll be an asterisk, and then the asterisk will say, you are not responsible for the difference.
Exactly.
Well, the hospital or the doctor will often bill. That's right.
They'll come after you.
And they'll just send the bill. And if you ask, why are you doing this? Oh, we just sent the bill. All you have to do is tell us that you're not responsible. I don't think we should have that responsibility, but we probably do. And in most cases, you're talking about a lot of money when it comes to hospitals and doctors.
Yeah. Well, they even have a term for it, creative billing, where they're overcharging or they're charging things that they're not supposed to be charging. So you have to look at your bill very carefully after it comes back.
That's right. And the insurance statement. Just put them down and compare them.
And fight it out. Back to credit cards. We are in debt. We're a nation in debt. And a lot of it is that we're getting so many offers. Tell me about what we need to be aware of when it comes to all these wonderful credit card offers we're getting almost every week.
Read them. Excuse me. And read them carefully. consumer law in the United States today is nowhere near as favorable as it used to be to consumers. What has happened is a combination of the laws have been changed, but a lot of laws have been preempted. The federal government has enacted laws that trump state laws, and the Supreme Court has held that a credit card company is going to be subject to the laws of where they have their home office. What did the credit card companies do? Most of them moved to the states that have the most favorable laws. So I forgot which one of the Dakotas it is. I think it's South Dakota, and Delaware is where most of them are. So even though I'm in Texas, my rights are governed by the law of that state. And generally, what those states say is the credit card companies can put whatever they want in that agreement, and it's long, and when you sign, you're bound by it. One of the things that also the agreement says is we can change this anytime you want. Mm-hmm. So every month you can get something that can say now we have new terms. When you get an advertisement, read it, look at all the asterisks. The low introductory rates are one of the biggest abuses. 8% interest. Well, it's 8% interest until they want to raise it.
Right.
They have something that's called universal default. Universal default means if I have a credit card and I'm paying it every month, I have never once missed a payment. I pay it in full every month. They can find out that I missed another payment to another credit card company, or maybe something else happened, and they can raise my interest rate from 8% to 26% based on this one clause that's in the contract. So you really have to be careful, and if you have good credit, you can shop around. Mm-hmm, Everybody's going to send you offers, but what you have to worry about is your credit may be good, but once you get tied in, now it's harder for somebody else to give you a credit card, and it's harder to get out. So I'd be careful about what will happen if you miss a payment.
What about canceling credit cards? I hear that it's better not to cancel them if you don't use them, or it is better to cancel them if you don't use them. I have tons that I don't use.
The reason people care about this is your credit score. Now, right now, you cannot get a free copy of your credit score. When you go to get your free copy of the credit report, it will say, do you want your credit score? I forgot what they charge. It's not a lot. But people probably should have some idea what that is, because that's what most creditors look at to decide if they will loan you money and what interest rate. So you want a good credit score. Mm-hmm. And some of what the credit score is based on is logical. Some of it I don't think people think about. For example, having too many credit cards and not using them is bad. Even if you don't use them, even if you got it for whatever, you saw the souvenir at the baseball park and you applied with the credit card to get the hat.
Exactly.
That's going to lower your credit score.
Oh, I didn't know
So if you have credit cards that you're not using,
cancel them?
Go ahead and cancel them.
Oh, okay.
The other thing, what they look for is reliability and stability. Mm-hmm. So if you buy something for $100 and you pay $100 at the end of the month, and next month you pay $100 and you buy it at the end of the month, you pay the $100. That's not really helping your credit, because all you've shown is that you can buy something, pay for it. You haven't shown that you can buy something and extend payments. So for a young person who's just starting out, what you want to do is buy something and pay it off over time. Yes, you will pay a little bit of interest, but that's what helps your credit score.
Okay. Arbitration. That's something that you want to...
The show isn't long enough.
Yeah, we don't have that much time. But what do we need to know as consumers about arbitration?
You've lost your legal rights. And let me put in another plug. If you go to my website and you click on the Help Fight Arbitration, you can see my testimony in Congress recently. I testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and there was a bill in Congress about this. But the bottom line is, almost everything you do as a consumer, you have waived your right to go to court. You've agreed to arbitrate with all of your credit card contracts, when you bought a house, when you bought a car, when you use an exterminator, when you go online. You've signed that little form or clicked I accept, and you've said, I will not go to court. I will arbitrate. And arbitration is private justice. There is no judge, there's no jury, there's a privately paid arbitrator. You have no appeal. They are not bound to follow the rules of evidence and the law like anyone else would be. There's no precedent. 5 people could have the same problem. 5 arbitrators could give 5 different decisions, and a court never has a chance to review it, and it's expensive. It can cost, you can go to court, you can go to small claims court, you can have a jury, it's under $100. Arbitration is expensive. It can often cost thousands of dollars. So, in my opinion, the greatest piece of consumer legislation is what has recently been introduced. It's called the Arbitration Fairness Act of 2007. Arbitration is so bad, automobile dealers, about 4 years ago, the manufacturer forced the dealer to arbitrate. Now remember, the dealer forces all its customers. The dealers went to Congress and got it outlawed.
How do you know you're living smart?
Know your rights. It's all we've talked about.
I like that.
It's you hear all the time, knowledge is power. Well, when it comes to the law, having legal rights and not knowing about them is the same as not having them.
Okay.
Go out and learn a bit about the law.
Thank you so much, Dr. Richard Alderman, for being with us.
It's my pleasure.
Teaching us everything you know. And to learn more about this topic, go to our website. There you'll also find a complete resource list. You can also email us or call us with your comments at 713-743-8513. And that's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to live smart. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a safe week, and remember to know your rights. Thank you.
For a transcript of this program, send $6.95 to the address on your screen. Please include the name of the guest.